Welcome to the TIMFD podcast. Today is my favorite day is about appreciating every day as it comes, no matter what life throws at us. We hope that this podcast speaks to you, and if it does, please like, share, and comment. Now let's find out why today is our favorite day this week.
Hey, today is your favorite day. It's mine too. And today we have Luke Allen. And first of all, Luke, thank you for being here. Yeah. And then also, you're military, so I just always like to hear about the military guys. So Sure. Tell me your military background. You came out of Indiana University, correct? Is that where you came out?
That's right. Okay. Yep. I went through the ROTC program through Indiana University, and I picked up a flight slot coming out of college where I trained to be a navigator. Okay. So I was a navigator on EC-130s for like the first 5 to 6 years of my career, and what those do, they jam enemy communications. So we didn't haul cargo, but we had a lot of antennas hanging off the back, and went into Iraq and Afghanistan and
so
jammed
you did you were over there in that area.
Yep. I had several deployments there, mostly with Operation Iraqi Freedom is where I was
So when
serving.
did you go in then? What year did you go in?
I commissioned in 2003.
Okay, so you were obviously in college when 9/11 took place, and that did that affect you with other guys to want to go in?
Well,
to the military at that time?
I went into ROTC to pay for my school, and when you wear your uniform on Thursdays, I remember that day, it was right after 9/11 happened, and I'm standing on the corner in my uniform, and one of the students comes up to me and says, "Do you think you're going to have to go to war?" And that's when it kind of dawned on me, I think I am.
Wow.
That was a huge moment for the reality of not just getting school paid for is
you're going to war.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you came in right with that. You were married around that time, I imagine. So
yep. I met my wife in college. And,
so you guys both went to Indiana. Okay.
Yep. She followed me into the military, and I dragged her along to our first duty station was Little Rock, Arkansas.
Oh wow.
And she had never been to Arkansas, neither had I. But you grow to blossom where you're planted. We were there for a year, and then I went off to flight school and became a navigator. Went and flew the EC-130, and then later the drone programs were kicking off, and they were allowing navigators to basically sidestep into flying drones.
Wow!
As long as you had your FAA rating. So me and another good friend of mine, we bought an airplane together, and we went on our off time. We recruited a local flight instructor who was furloughed from the airlines, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll teach you how to fly."
Wow. Okay.
And got my ratings, and then next thing you know, I got an assignment flying drones in Northern California.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So you were in what part of Northern California there?
We were up near Grass Valley, Penn Valley area, Beale Air Force Base. We flew the Global
I know
Hawk.
Beale very well.
Yep. So we were a reconnaissance platform. Took pictures. I wasn't in any of the drones that were dropping Hellfire missiles or anything like that. So we were taking pictures of the enemy and did a few deployments with them. And then the last half of my career, last 10 years of my career in the Air Force, I was in flight tests. So I got stationed down in Southern California.
What does that mean, flight test?
Yeah, so at Edwards Air Force Base is basically the Air Force Flight Test Center. So they test all the latest technology, all the development that's coming out for new aircraft, or even the whole Air Force inventory is there, and they're testing, you name it, everything. Any minor upgrade has to be flight tested before we deliver it to the warfighter.
Okay.
So we're on the front line of testing and producing some new capabilities for the Air Force.
So Stephenie went with you on all this stuff, and then she, and when she was at Indiana, did she get her degree there, or did she just follow? You graduated, she just followed you? What happened there?
Yeah, she was in the process of getting her master's degree when we met.
So she
I
was
a
smart.
slow kid. I took 5 years to graduate, and she graduated on time. But we met, and I kind of derailed her master's degree program.
What was the degree that she was
psychology.
in? Oh, no way.
Yep, she was getting her master's in counseling, and I think she saw the writing on the wall that I'm getting orders, and I'm not sticking around Indiana, and she didn't want to do the long distance thing, and so she followed me into the Air Force.
Okay. All right. So you have done that. You went down to Southern California.
Yep.
Right. And where were you stationed there?
That was Edwards Air Force
Base.
Base.
Edwards, the famous Edwards Air Force
Chuck
Base.
Yeager and the whole
place.
Yeah.
So that's where the testing and all that stuff took place.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep.
Okay, so where you may be going, why is he asking all this stuff? Well, there's the travel that Luke and Stephenie went on brought them to a particular place in their life, and that was your oldest daughter, because you have 3 kids.
3. Mm-hmm.
And your oldest, you had 3 children with Stephenie. That oldest child started struggling a little bit, correct?
Yeah. So we started noticing early on in elementary school, we were getting notified by our teacher that, Iris just isn't paying attention. She's having some behavioral issues in class, and, she's smart. She's extremely intelligent, but she just doesn't hand her homework in and things like that. And we've tried several things of little behavioral charts and reward systems and things like that. And finally the teacher was like, look, we've tried everything. You need to get her medicated. And of course that really upset us. I can't believe you can't solve this problem or work with us. You just want to suggest medication off the bat.
And that was probably 2000.
She was in 3rd grade at that time, I believe. So I was that is way too young, in our opinion.
That's really young.
The teacher said, we think she has ADD, ADHD. We've seen this, all the time with kids like this. And, we were kind of dug our heels in the ground with it because, especially with my military background, the Air Force doesn't allow you to take those type of stimulants and things like that. So I was like, I don't want any of that on her record or anything like that. Let's come up with other options. And as time progressed, it just started getting worse.
Yeah. So there was a progression that took place with her.
Yes.
And so the mental illness got worse. Now, again, this is both people with degrees, a military officer, and so mental illness could hit anybody at any time in any family. And so you have that going on, and that went from when she was in you said 3rd grade?
3rd grade is when we started seeing some earlier signs. And, Iris was always kind of our defiant, kind of into mischief, kind of, she was a jokester.
High energy type of child? Maybe?
High energy, but just always into stuff and, always just...
Was she pretty smart?
She was very smart.
Yeah.
Very smart. I was telling you earlier, I would tell her, you got to quit doing math problems in your head and just writing the answer. The teacher wants to see the work. And she's like, I don't need to. I don't need to do all this. I can just do it. And her answers were correct.
Yeah, she could, but they want to show the work.
Exactly.
So she struggled, and then there became more almost like you said, defiant issues going on. And then you start seeing some other things happening with her mental health, which was the cutting and that kind of stuff that happened. Yeah, correct?
So we had got her in some therapy, and finally we succumbed to okay, let's try this. Let's try the ADHD medication, and we got her on it. And I don't know if we really noticed a huge difference in it, but we got by. Okay. And we started really seeing things start kind of spiraling out of control. Probably about the time when she hit puberty.
Okay.
And she was just having problems with, some other girls and classmates. Iris was very beautiful.
Yeah, I saw
if you've seen pictures of her, so I know how, the schoolyard kids can be. They, especially if you're a new kid,
it could be hard.
They're going to make fun of you and pick on you. And so I think she struggled with that. But with Stephenie and I, we're a strong disciplinary type family, rule and order, and we just always felt like she was manipulating us, or at least I felt that way. Sure. And Stephenie was probably more in tune with it because she had struggled with mental health issues herself. Okay. I have never dealt with it.
Right. Depression, anything kind of stuff.
So
it's something
from a dad, I was just like, okay, she's got another scheme going on where you got to play detective and figure out what is she lying about, or just defying us. And, sometimes, I considered it manipulation and all the things that you go through when, your child is rebelling, or
so
in our aspect of it, she was struggling.
Yeah. When did you start seeing that it's more than just the rebellion? There's other stuff going on here.
So we moved off of the Air Force Base because we were living on base. And let me tell you, it was the perfect utopia of just like everyone had kids. It was like 1950s, everyone running from yard to yard, doing the pop by. Hey, how's it going? Oh, let's do a, impromptu barbecue. All right, let's go. And it was like that every single weekend living on base at Edwards Air Force Base. Well, it came to a time where I was getting retirement was on the horizon, and honestly, we were looking at retiring there at Edwards because the entire, basically, military-industrial complex is there in the Mojave Desert with, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, the entire flight test area. So we were kind of laying out our long-term plans. So we were like, we need to move off base in order to get ourselves ready to retire because we don't want to have to move off base. When you retire, you have to move off base. Right. So we purchased a house in Lancaster, California, which is about 45 minutes from the base. So we kind of uprooted the family. I mean, we were still, our church was down there, so we were really plugged in with the church. But we had to change schools. So she was going to school on base. Yeah. She went to a public school in town there, and she got in a fight at school, the first few months of being there. And then we just started seeing some cutting happening, and she would wear the long hoodies.
Oh yes, I remember seeing
to cover her arms, and Steph would pull her sleeve and show me, and I'm just like, what is going on here? Like, what does this mean? And that was the time when she was almost a teenager, and the cell phones were everyone's got to have a cell phone, and everyone's got Instagram, and everyone's got social media, and
it's brutal out there.
And we were, trying to limit it as much as possible with parental controls. And she'd find a way to break the parental control and get on Instagram and whatnot. And I just
different accounts and things that you would never know.
Never, we did. We were so just at a loss. And I'm a pretty technological person, and no matter what, she found a way around it.
Oh, it's because that's what they grew up with. That was like our daughter too, same thing.
I mean, I had to make it so it almost went North Korea at my house, where Wi-Fi gets shut down and everything, at certain times of night, so to protect them. But at that point in time, COVID kicked off.
Okay.
So we didn't know what was going on with COVID, and next thing you know, the mandate came down is that schools were shutting down, and you're going to learn from home, and so that made us give her.
Did she struggle with that?
She definitely struggled with that. It was just the loss of, being around other kids and things like that. So, of course, as parents, we sympathized with that. And we're like, well, let's let her have her phone a little more, because that's all these kids got right now for
that's all they had.
Connectivity.
Yeah. Yep.
So we went through that. And then we got to a point in time where she was actually basically having a suicide attempt about every month leading up through COVID. So I think when did COVID happen? Around January of 2020?
Yeah, we were effective here in March of 2020.
Yeah, so
California was a little different.
Yeah, that's when it started. She started, more and more cutting, just fits of rage and temper issues and destroying things. And
you caught her one time in a closet with something around her neck. Yeah, and she hadn't done anything yet, but you just kind of grabbed
her, and I mean, it was definitely tight around her neck, and I had to pry it off of her. And of course, we call the ambulance, and they do the whole
Baker acting,
the whole run up when something like that happens, and then ultimately they would take her down to Los Angeles, where they had a teen crisis where they Baker acted kids, and that was kind of a nightmare in itself, because
it is.
She would meet other kids and collect cell phone numbers from them, and next thing you know, she's on a text thread with them when she gets back.
Correct.
They're
just connected with a bunch of other kids,
learning all kinds of different medications and drugs. Correct. And suicide attempts, and you name it. It was just a bad scenario. And like I said, every month we had an attempt on our hands. The one that really stuck in my mind was she had taken like a full bottle of her antidepressant medication.
Right. Yeah.
And she was like going into convulsions and I was trying to gag her to like get as much out as I could. And she basically had serotonin syndrome in the ER and another, trip to LA.
Explain that. Serotonin was
yeah. So if you take, massive amounts of antidepressant medication, you can develop what's called serotonin syndrome. And basically she was almost like twitching, shaking.
That happened to Rebecca.
But she was essentially almost in a coma from it.
Very scary, isn't it?
Yeah. So like when that happened, Steph and I were just seeking out all kinds of ways to get her help. And let me tell you, like when you're in the middle of the Mojave Desert, there isn't a lot of options for you. And we were having to drive like an hour and a half north to see a psychiatrist. That was like the only child psychiatrist in the area.
Wow.
I mean, we looked in LA, which is an hour south of where we were living. And then you run into TRICARE, the military insurance not covering a certain client. And then, we started looking at like therapy centers to get her checked into. We were looking for faith-based ones. They weren't around.
Yeah. That is a concern of mine.
And the sad thing is you ask the question of why, and somebody put it bluntly, like there's no money in it.
Right.
And most of the, therapists, plastic surgery and, the big money ticket items down in LA was where it's at. So, unfortunately we sought out all kinds of different Christian camps and things like that.
All different things.
And then you look at what the price tag is on those. We're talking crazy. 30 to 50,000 and beyond.
Yep.
So in my pride, we said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to figure this out. And, we checked her into a 6-week long-term place. It was all during COVID. We couldn't visit her. It was down in LA.
Oh, yes.
And we would get on Zoom meetings with her therapist. And that was when the therapist and Iris got on. And she was like, we have something to tell you. And we're like, well, what do you have to tell us? And Iris basically came out and said that she was sexually assaulted from walking home from school one afternoon on Edwards Air Force Base by 4 different boys. And she's been holding that the whole time.
Yeah, that would add to the destructive behavior that was going on with her. So,
yes.
So you went through all this stuff. She eventually, at 14, committed suicide, correct?
Yeah, November of 2020, she took her own life. I was picking up Ava from gymnastics, and I came home and to just flashing lights all through my neighborhood. And
so your wife was there? She was the one.
My wife was there. Yeah, she hung herself in our garage, and the paramedics were working on her. I forced my way in. Of course, they were pushing me out not to see, and then they got our heart beating. Okay. So we were still at Hope, and we drove to the ER, and they almost didn't let us in because of COVID. Finally, we forced our way in, and but then they realized they didn't have the equipment to care for her, so they airlifted her to LA, and we drove there. And at that point in time, she was on life support, and they did all the brain activity tests on her, and she wasn't there. Yeah. So we decided, to let her go, and she donated her organs actually to several individuals. Okay. And one of the guys actually texted me and said, "Hey, I received Iris's kidney, and and she saved my life." So a little cool story.
That's a big plus.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you went through that. You were getting close to retiring.
Yeah.
And the military does something when this goes on. And what is that called?
So if you have a death in your family, in your immediate family, they have what's called a humanitarian assignment. So you can present your case to the personnel center. And obviously, with my daughter dying, it's where do you want to be assigned that your family can receive care and support. So we always wanted to retire in Tampa, and I knew we were getting towards the last, 3 years of my career. And my brother lived in Lakeland. My parents from Indiana, they always come down here to Snowbird, and it's a very easy flight to Indiana, where I'm from.
Yeah, it's not a bad place with
versus
all the beaches.
California.
All the beaches right here.
Exactly.
Some of the greatest beaches in the world right here.
Yeah, so literally, I think a few days after we put that request in, I had orders to be assigned to MacDill.
Yeah. And MacDill, if you know, is SOCOM, right? Is that where it is?
They have CENTCOM and SOCOM.
SOCOM, yep. Mm-hmm. And so it's a big place. It's a kind of a well-known base, to say the least. So you come here. You guys buy a home, if I remember right, correct?
Yeah, we bought a house sight unseen because the real estate market was insane back then. We knew
everybody was moving to Florida.
Yeah, so we bought a house sight unseen, and Stephenie even flew ahead once we were ownership of the house and met with a few contractors to renovate our kitchen, and we chose one, and then she flew back to California, and then we packed up everything and we headed east. So.
So you got here,
and
but you ran into what a lot of people ran into during COVID, for one, but also have ran into construction issues. Yeah, a lot of people have had to run into here.
Yeah, the contractor wasn't really the best and on the up and up. So Stephenie, we walked into, basically when we first walked into our house, the entire kitchen was completely gutted. We thought we were gonna be a little further along than we were. And let me tell you, the price keeps getting inflated even higher. So you guys
were getting hit by financial, but you also didn't have a kitchen in the house with a wife but men have a tendency to compartmentalize sometimes. I'm not saying that men are great at this, but if you don't have any mental health issues, you can kind of move things and keep kind of moving forward. It's starting to weigh on her.
Absolutely.
It's starting to weigh the death of her daughter. I mean, mamas and daughters, it's different. It just
Absolutely.
is.
And we moved into a neighborhood that's very social, and they had a clubhouse and everything. They had events going on, and I'd be like, Steph, let's go. Let's go meet people. And she did not want to meet anybody. She was just overwhelmed with grief.
I remember that with Tanya. It was just, even though she's had even a position at the church.
Yeah,
she did. She needed to take time off for one, but then secondly was I can't be around. Yeah. It's just too hard. And
it's hard to be happy in a happy environment when your
heart's crushed.
Yeah, I mean, like carrying this grief around is like carrying like a sandbag around with you.
It is, and then you start feeling, at least what I've heard from Tanya, and I thought some of myself too, is that. We're bringing this grief to people, making their lives feel down too, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to go to a party and bring everybody down.
Yes.
That kind of thing. Because eventually you're going to ask, how are things going?
Right.
Right? And I guess we could BS
and you lie a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So she's going through that. You're going through that. You're trying to kind of figure out what you're doing with MacDill.
Yep. I was in processing, and our household goods showed up. The semi rolled in front of our house. Unloaded all the boxes
and said, "See you later."
And literally, our boxes were piled all the way up to the ceiling.
Yeah.
One
more stressor.
We had a completely gutted kitchen, so we didn't really know where to unpack all the boxes and put things. So we decided to send the kids up to Grandma and Grandpa's house.
That's Indiana.
That's Indiana, and just allow us to tend to this massive undertaking that we're going to have to do with getting the house unpacked and ready while I'm in processing at MacDill.
Right.
I'm still going to work.
Still going to work, doing what you need to do.
So I go to work, and Stephenie handles all the unpacking and starts making the nest.
Yeah, doing all the things. But then there was one day, and if you can kind of go through that day, it didn't seem like it was any different from any other day, other than she was.
It didn't.
She was down.
Yeah, she would lay in bed, and just sob. And there's the one morning that she took her own life. Actually, that I remember that morning when I went to work. I said, "Hey, do you want me to just stay home today and be here with you?" And I was just hugging on her and loving on her, and she was like, "No, go."
Yeah, I'm
good. Go to work. I'm good. And so I went. And, when you work in classified spaces, you can't really, bring your cell phone into work and stay in contact. But we use email to check in and message her. There's ways of emailing to a cell phone that texts people. So I was doing that, and I was, collecting receipts for my travel voucher, and she was sending them over to me. And then
so she was sending stuff back to you.
She was sending me receipts that I needed, that I left at home, and she was, with her phone and emailing them over. And then all of a sudden, towards the middle of the day, the communication just kind of stopped.
And this was still in COVID as well, 2022?
This is 2021.
Yeah, you were still in COVID.
Yeah,
now, Florida was a little different, but there was still a lot of restrictions going on with companies. And
we were still wearing masks at work and things like that. And so when I got done with work, we were actually planning on meeting her best friend that was actually flying in from California. That's right. Mm-hmm. Two friends, actually. Her long childhood friend that we've known for, since I've been with Stephenie, was flying in from California. And then another friend that we met, her name's Liz and Amber. Liz was flying in. They were actually moving to Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
They followed us.
Okay.
So we had bought our house. They were getting ready to close it, but they arrived on that day. And I come out of work. I uncheck my phone out of the locker, power it on, and I have all these text messages saying, Luke, call me, emergency.
And this is from Amber?
This was from Liz.
Liz, okay.
Yeah, they had apparently made it to Florida and came to my house.
Got it.
And so I call, and she told me she was sobbing. She's like, Luke, she's gone. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Who?
What are you talking about? She's gone.
Yeah.
And she's like, Steph, she's gone. She's dead. And I just remember shock,
Absolutely.
Just like you feel like your whole world is just spinning.
Yes.
And I just remember, I barely remember walking to my car, and somehow I managed to drive an hour home. That's how long the commute was to me. I don't even know how I made it, but I just, pulled up to my neighborhood, and of course all the neighbors are, out in their yard wondering what's going on. And, Steph was just, it was just too much for her. And
if you think about that, the combination of a loss of a child, the stress of the home, the travel, all that kind of stuff, and COVID. And COVID did a lot to a lot of people.
Oh.
It devastated a lot of people. The way we were doing it was foolishness as far as I was concerned. But and our church fought against that. We actually opened up quickly, and we did not use masks here, and we had no problems. But that's a different story altogether. Bottom line is it added pressure onto your daughter and to your wife. And then Steph was gone, and then what do you do? So that was my thing, is what did you do when that happened? You still have kids that you need to take care of.
Well,
they were still up in Indiana at that time?
They were in Indiana, and honestly, that was the biggest nightmare of it all.
Really?
Having to get them on a Zoom call, because I wanted to look them in the eyes and tell them.
Yes.
I remember I called Steph's parents first and asked them, hey, where's Ava and Braden at? And I told them, and they, wailing and crying.
Absolutely, that's their daughter.
And then it's like, okay, we got to pull ourselves together
get
here
the grandkids in.
And bring them in. And, the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, these kids, they're going to grow up without a mom.
Yep.
And how do they've just lost their sister.
Yep.
So, the whole time I was just like, man, my kids, they're going to be so screwed up. How do I even overcome this?
Yeah. The overwhelming.
Yep. And then honestly, my brother who lived in Lakeland, he came immediately. Honestly, Stephenie's brother, Charlie, and his wife, Grace, they knew they came from Ireland.
Ireland?
After they got word that we got a humanitarian assignment to Tampa, they said, we want to be by you. We are going to move from Ireland to Fishhawk.
During COVID?
During COVID. Yep. So he was able to get his job to transfer him and do remote work, and they moved, and I had to call him. It's like, get over here. I need you guys. And
so you got on the Zoom with the kids?
Got on the Zoom with the kids. I told them, I don't know how it registers.
I'm sure it was just complete shock, and you just didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
Most kids would just sit there and...
Yeah. I can't imagine,
don't know what to do.
How that processed for them.
Yeah.
But they were on the first flight they could to get to Tampa. Yeah. And honestly, in the same fashion that my military family took care of, my church family, everyone that we knew in the community of Lancaster when Iris died, I mean, they were there. They were. I mean, we had RVs that were parked outside of our house, staying with us during, and that was during COVID.
Wow.
So we couldn't even have a funeral to allow people to come because of COVID.
I know.
So we had it on Zoom. But the same fashion with Stephenie, everyone was flying in from everywhere. All my military bros, they came in, and they were like, "What do you need fixed around here?"
Yep.
And they just started going to town on my house, like replacing everything, laying electrical wires and everything. Like,
and that's actually a ministry to them too, because they get to do something. Because men usually don't know what to do with a loss like that, but if they can physically be involved, they can make a difference. I guess that's good.
And even I mean, we had attended the church there in Fishhawk, just a couple times, and the pastor would show up and he would walk with me once a week and just see how I'm doing.
Wow,
and,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So after all of that, we now have something that's hopefully glorify God in all this, and will raise awareness to this, and our hope is to be able to help. Your hope is to help some other people, right? So, what is going to be happening in? I think it's May 2nd, correct?
Yep, May 2nd.
So let's go over that real quick, so people on here know what you're going to be doing, what you're going to be a part of, to try to bring some honor to your wife and daughter and help some other people.
So first off, I would just say that the only thing that's really one of the main things that have gotten me through this grief and this loss is my faith in Christ. And I think it's really easy to go down that path of being angry at God. And, for the most part, I was angry at God for a while. He took my daughter and my wife of 17 years. And you start thinking of stories like Job of like, oh boy, what's next here?
Yes.
But I would say, like, I made the conscious choice to keep following God, and even despite like these losses.
So what did you do? What were you doing in that moment to continue to follow the Lord? What did you do?
I made sure that I was involved in a church.
Okay.
And I just kept glorifying Him. Attending church, reading the Bible, praying, making sure that I was an example for my kids. Because let me tell you, it's really easy to just numb yourself with alcohol or whatever during the time
I've heard that
of
from
hurting.
a lot of people. It's I might as well just start drinking, or I might as well start drugging, or whatever it is.
But I looked at those two kids who only have me now, and thank God now God gave me an amazing
you're remarried, which is awesome, and she's actually in charge of our children's ministry here at this church.
My kids go to her for things more than they go to me. Like literally, like I think Steph sent her along to us, to be honest with you. But anyway, May 2nd at John Crestnut Park, Women of God, Tampa Bay. They are a women's ministry that's currently being started out there in the Fishhawk, Valrico area. They are promoting a women's, or I guess a 5K memorial run for Stephenie and Iris, and it's going to be mainly to honor them, but to promote mental health and suicide awareness.
Yes, because this month, if you don't know, this month is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and then in May it's Mental Health Month. So you've got those 2 months going on here, and so the run is to raise money to bring awareness to the scourge of suicide, for one, and it's just horrible. And our church just experienced this ourselves with somebody in our church named Ricky. But so it's bringing awareness. But secondly, what it's doing is it's raising money for organizations. And if I remember right, the organizations are called, we're right here, Hope for Her. Yep. And can you tell me a little bit about what that is about?
Yeah, so Hope for Her is an organization. It's out there in the Valrico area. It's basically a center for women's crisis management. So they get women in a safe spot, and then they have the resources at their disposal to plug them into the appropriate type of counseling or help or assistance that they need.
And then the other one is One Another Counseling, which is a counseling center on that side of town too, or on both sides?
It's my understanding that they have an office in Lutz and Riverview. That's a faith-based counseling center, and like I said, counseling and therapy is not a cheap thing because insurance does not cover it. We experienced that, and
so is that your dream, to be able to have money available so people can go and do this?
Yeah, I don't want money to be a reason not for somebody to get help,
because it can crush you financially. I know for us, we spent a lot of money on counseling and psychiatrists, psychologists, all that, and it's not cheap. It's not cheap.
And after all this, I went through therapy and counseling.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. What are you doing? So therapy, tell me what you did with that. You got with a therapist that's more dealing with trauma, or did you deal with grief? Or
it was really difficult. I mean, I called lots of people asking if they could, if they do trauma and grief and things like that. And it seemed like everybody that I called didn't have room to take a new patient, or it was like
because it's during COVID. Yeah, I remember that.
Really difficult to get somebody. I kind of just took who I got and just kind of went with it. And honestly, I think just the aspect of talking about it and not bottling it up. Yeah. Like there's a release. It's very hard work because I felt exhausted after talking about this kind of stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, I went to grief shares at churches.
Good. When we did the grief share too. So
when Iris died, Stephenie and I actually did a program called the Grief Recovery Method. And it was good. It was helpful. Mm-hmm.
And what do you think it was just because you knew that your wife had some mental health issues. Yeah. And she went to school. There's a reason probably why she went into what she did because of that.
Stephenie had a tough life. Her mom took her own life when she was 9.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
She didn't really know her biological dad. He had some serious mental issues after he came back from the Navy, like schizophrenia. And for all I know, I think he's wandering the streets is what she would tell me. So she didn't know her real dad. She was raised by her aunt and uncle.
That's what I was wondering. Who did she raise? She was raised by her aunt and uncle. Okay.
By her aunt and uncle. And
that's who you called?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And the other aspect that Stephenie dealt with is she started having some medical problems in her mid-30s, neurological problems that were happening, and they started going down the MS route of diagnosis. So she was carrying that weight.
And it is weight. My youngest sister is dealing with that. Yeah. It's a weight. You just have to kind of bear through it. But if you have the other things going on in you and you're dealing with that too, and the loss of a child, I could see why she would be in a dark place. Mm-hmm. And that's the sad part, is that she was a believer. Mm-hmm. But the darkness can get really dark.
Yeah, she was journaling. The police gave me her journal finally that was at the scene, and she was feverishly writing. I mean, you could see like the pressure that she was putting on the ballpoint pen of pleading with God to take these thoughts away from her, and just begging God to take the grief from her and, help her be a better mom to Braden and Ava. She doesn't want to do the things that are apparently were in her mind, and she just succumbed to it.
So the goal here is to get awareness of suicide and the awareness of mental health, that it is not just something that's out there affecting just a few people. I know pretty much every family I know has been affected by this. And COVID, like I said, did not help anything here with all that craziness going on. So your job is to do that. I know our church is going to get involved with it. Our hope is we get a lot more people involved with it. We'll put this podcast out, but we'll also start promoting this. You have all the promotional stuff for it, and we can get all that out there. And then we could do something maybe a few months from now, as you really kind of have it all settled, and come back and we could talk specifically about the race and in the run and some of the positive things that are going on in your life, because there are positive things going on. But the one positive is you're still standing.
Yep.
I mean, to me, that's, and if we keep our eyes looking up and looking at him, we can keep standing, keep moving forward. So you're moving forward and doing your thing, and I commend you for that, because that's not easy to do. And now you're a dad going into teenage world. Yes, lucky you.
Oh, I'm full into teenage world.
Yes, you are. You are totally. And I'm thinking, Braden, you're totally in the teenage world. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Well, everybody should be praying for you. So, and just like every teenage family with a teenager. Thank you very much, guys. Remember this. Every day can be your favorite day if we keep our eyes focused on Jesus. And remember, if you're struggling with anything when it comes to even any thoughts of harming yourself, we got to call 988-911. Call out for your friends. Reach out to your pastor, your church, people within your small group. Do not let it go down a road that can bring such devastation to the people around you. You are special, and you're cared for, and you're loved, and you're important enough to take care of yourself. All right, guys, have a great day. Love to see you next time.
Thank you for listening to TIMFD, Today is My Favorite Day. Views, comments, and opinions are those of the host and guest alone. TIMFD is produced and directed by Alex Korn. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, live intentionally, and be very blessed.